Students, good morning. So today we discuss about lighting. So already we have gone through the basics of Maya and the Maya interface and the Maya tools and the navigation keys and the shortcut keys and many things we have discussed. Now we discuss about more into lighting and rent subject. So today let's talk about creating a basic lighting setup. So before we go further, I would like to reset my workspace. So let me go to my workspace here. I would like to reset current workspace. Okay, now we got everything back. So this will be a really handy option. So whenever you find that there is some problem that with your interface that you by accidentally you click and move something, or you click here and you move something, or if you do something like this, then you can always go back. But go to your workspace, then you can go to reset current workspace. Okay, thank God it's all done. Okay, so that would really help you. And it's also fine that if you have your own workspace, okay, because I have my own workspace here. If you go to the workspace here, you can see it's modeling mine. So this is my modeling workspace that I would like to go with. So because it has all the modeling tools on one side, and I have customized my interface based on that. So you can even save your current workspace however you want. You can position them, then you can just hit the save button, then your workspace will be saved. I prefer mostly with that. And for rendering, I'll be having a different workspace. So this is for my rendering workspace. So I prefer this one for rendering because it has all the render layers, then the render window and everything. You know, Maya has Arnold render view. So that's what it's all about. So let's go click here, and I have there are other standard views that Maya offers, such as modeling standard and modeling expert. So go click the modeling standard. This is a modeling standard option that offers by Autodesk. And you have modeling expert view. You know what is modeling expert. You won't get any tools there. It's what modeling expert view. And we have rendering standard, and we have many other things. We have motion graphics, and for that's what motion graphics here. So there are such things for motion graphics. Anyway, I'll be just switching back to my modeling standard. No, not that fine. I just go to my Maya Classic. So Maya Classic has all the essential tools which was there at the initial version of Maya. I am a fan of Maya Classical view because I was using Maya for several years. So it is fine that if I work based on the previous versions of interface. Great. Okay, now let's see what we're going to do now. So guys, whatever I'll be doing that you can show here under my, you can see what are the buttons I'm pressing on the screen. So for example, press Q, W, E, or T, you can see what are the buttons I'm pressing there. So that would help you to understand what are the buttons I'm pressing and what are the actions that's been happening. So that will really help you. And the next one I would do is what if I accidentally, or if I incidentally want to press the left mouse button, you can see I'm pressing left mouse button and doing my job, or I'm using right mouse button and doing my job, or I'm pressing the wheel middle mouse. We call this a middle mouse button or the wheel press. Okay, so now you can easily find out what I'm doing here. Okay. Okay, so if you want to pass, I think I can pass it by using Alt P. Okay, great. So let's start with the lighting options we have. So the first thing we have to discuss here is there are three kinds of lighting that Maya offers. One is software lighting, another one is hardware lighting, and another one is metal ray lighting. So there are three kinds of lighting here. So maybe I can just go to whimsical. So first we have to decide which kind of lighting we have to go with. Okay, so yeah, this would help you. So please look at here. We have a renderer, software renderer. Maya offers a software renderer. It renders with the help of your available resources. I mean, by default, whatever your software has, your Windows OS and the software comes with, that will be used as a resource to render if you render through Maya software. And the other one is a hardware render that requires your graphic processing. you should have a proper graphics card. Then Arnold renderer, that is what a third-party plugin is, a third-party software which is called Arnold, which is been added with Maya from the, I think from the version of 2016 or something. Uh, Before that, prior to that, Maya has Mental Ray renderer, but now Mental Ray is off the charts of Autodesk. Now Autodesk is into Arnold renderer. It's a third-party plugin, but it's too faster than the previous versions of render, such as Mental Ray or any other renderer. And we also have V-Ray rendering. This is also a third-party plugin, but Arnold is the one which comes with Maya. Okay, Arnold is the one which comes with Maya, whereas the other plugins, V-Ray and Redshift, that you have to buy and use it along with Maya. So according to me, when it comes to architecture rendering, people prefer to go with V-Ray. That's the best rendering for architectural. So if you prefer to render some architecture like buildings or monuments or any other things, I would recommend you to go with the V-Ray render. That's a mind-blasting render quality that V-Ray would offer you. And nowadays, all the feature films, they are all working with Redshift. If you take any movies out there, people are moving to Redshift because Redshift is really good. It is giving you a crystal clear quality that is what required to make the 3D objects much more realistic to use in the visual effects movies and also in the feature films. So this is what Redshift. So these are things, but anyway, throughout the semester, we'll be discussing about the Arnold renderer. So this is what we're gonna do now. So let's go here. Okay. So here, let's press Shift and right click. See Shift. I'm pressing Shift, then I right click on an empty screen. Then I can take any objects, like maybe I can take a plane. So okay, then I press R, then I just scale it up. I just move it a little in the y-axis. You see that? Now you can see in the y-axis it is a little moved. So, yep. Then the next one I do is I prefer to create some objects. Maybe let's take a cube. Maybe yeah, that would help. So let's take a cube and press this out. Yep. Now, I want to put the pivot point of this cube not at the center. Okay, I want it to the bottom. So what is the use of pivot point? And the pivot point, we call this as a center point of the object. So pivot point. When you press E and rotate, you could see the object is rotated from the center. When you press W, it's moved from the center. When you scale, it is moved from the center. Okay, everything is happening from the center. What if I move it to the bottom? So let's press and hold the D key. While holding D, please press and hold the D key. Now you can move it to the bottom. Okay, now you can see that. Okay, but if since you feel that it is not properly at the bottom, yeah, it's not properly at the bottom. It's not an exact bottom. If you want to do that properly, all you have to do is you have to snap that pivot point to an available vertex by pressing V. So I press D plus V. Now I move this. You see that? So now it moved to that vertex. So you can even just move this here. Press F to fit to scale. Now you can press D again and move. Now press D and V and move. Yes. Now it got snapped to this vertex exactly at the bottom it is now. Okay, now you can just press D. I can bring it back to the center. Okay, so now it is at the exact bottom. The reason why I snapped with the vertex is now to position this to the exact bottom of the object. So now we see that it's great. Now it's the exact bottom. Now, what if I just what if I just hit Shift D, which is duplicate the transform. Then I press R. Since the pivot point is the bottom, when you scale, it would scale from the bottom. So only on the top it will be reduced. You see that? That's cool, isn't it? Now, since you press the Shift D to make a duplicate, whatever the transform values that you did here after duplicating, that would be applied on the further duplication. So when you press Shift D again, you see that it is against duplicated, moved, and scaled down. Again, a Shift D, duplicated, moved, and scaled down. Shift D, Shift D, Shift. Okay, now you need to, now you see that this is what happens here with this. So now I would like to turn on my wireframe on shader so I can get a clear picture of the objects around the scene, because the background is also like this and this is also like this. So if you don't want the background to be like that, you can even press Alt B, that is to change the background color. Alt B again. Yeah, that'll be fine. But anyway, I prefer to go with this. This is fine with me because I want the background also to be lit up and the objects also has to be seen, but it seems a little blended. So I want to press this wireframe on shaded view. So once I click this, all the polygon edges are also get visible. So now you can get a clear picture of, okay, great. Now I can clearly see what are the objects there and how many faces they all have. So thanks to this wireframe on shader, that's really save your time. It's fine. Now, what I could do is I could just bring in some light and I will show you some examples of how this works. The first thing I do is let's go to my create and lights. Under the create menu, we have lights. Guys, these are the lights we took from the create. Under lights, we took this. So 6 lights. Okay, so all you have to do is just hit the create, then lights, then go. And that you can find a double-headed line. Just click on it. It will be tear off because it's a tear off menu. Now it is tear off and it is there. Now you could use this to create as many lights. You can position this menu anywhere. That is really a comfortable one to work with, right? Yeah, Maya has its own convenient. And the reason why Maya is preferred by the industries and why it is still in the pipeline of animation industries, because the amount of tools they provide and the user experience that they offer is much better than any other softwares. You don't need to remember many shortcut keys. Whereas when you work with 3D Studio Max, then you might know how good is Maya with. If it is 2D Studio Max, you have to work with several shortcut keys to do something. Okay, whereas those many shortcut keys, you don't need to memorize Maya. So even if you want to be an expert or whatever, you don't need to memorize everything. So that's really a cool option, I would say. So now let's create a first slide, which is an ambient light. So great. Now it's an ambient light we created. Now, the only thing is we can't see any differences once we create the light here. Okay, and I just positioned the light. Throughout the session, I'll be using my perspective view, and I would recommend you to use perspective view only once when you're comfort with all the navigational tools of Maya. Unless working with perspective view would be a difficult one. I highly recommend all the students to practice the basics basics tools and interfaces that we have discussed in the previous classes. Okay, it's an ambient light, but how can I see the output of this? Since we created from the normal lights here, it's a basic light. So all you have to do is you have to click this. Yeah, you have to click this, the first one, which is an open render view. Now here, when you click that, it opens render view. And now you have to click here and choose the kind of render you want to do. Render is the process where all your 3D objects were transferred into a 2D image as a final output. Okay, based on your camera angle. So from whichever camera angle you're looking into it, that will be rendered or that will be casted out into a 2D attractive image, which is called a render. So here, I'm not preferring the Arnold renderer. I prefer to go with the Maya software. Fine, I hit the Maya software because it's a normal light. I created from here. So since it's a normal lights, I prefer to go with the Maya software render. And let me hit this button now. Okay. Now you can see that it is fine. Now you can see it's really fine. Like, okay. Now you can see the lighting here. And here the name suggests it is ambient light. Okay. Let me just put this like this. Great. I can just make it small or bigger, anything will be fine. I just make this smaller, bigger. Great. And here you could see the size is 960 by 540. That's the size it shows. You can just, here here's the scale factor, how much you want to scale, how much you could scale and you could not scale. That's a scale factor given here. So maybe I could just go to my, okay. Now here I can, I'm sorry. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, now you could see it's 960 by 540, the size is, okay? So actually this is the size, and this says how much zoom value it is. Are you looking the screen at the full 960 by 540? No, it says that we are not looking into 960 by 540 because we zoomed in on a level and we are looking at 0.8 what do you call that, the frame aspect ratio. Okay, now you could see now I'm in the zoom level 1. Now it is, so now it is zoom level 1. Now it is in the proper render mode. Great. So if you want to change this render size, instead of 960 by 540, if you want to change it to the bigger size, you could do that. In the render view there, you can see a render settings window there. Okay, you could do that, or you can press the same button which is here, the render settings. Once you click that, it would be open, and there you can find the size. Just scroll down under the common tab, ensure it should be in Maya software, then scroll down. There you can see the preset. The preset says HD 540. If you would prefer to go with 1920 by 1080, you can do that also, because you have a full 1280 screen and you have full HD 1080 screen. You could pick whatever the size you want, but anyway, for my convenience, I don't want this render to be much bigger, because the more the screen size, the more the time the system takes to render that. So I don't want to waste my system's resources to render something which is not needed. So I think this is enough for me. So I just let this go. Let it be closed. I just showed that window to you. So by any point of time, if you wish to change something, you could do with the help of that. Okay. So now I created an ambient light. You could see now. Okay, fine. And is there any way that I could just make this look better? Maybe I can go to my IPR, and there I have IPR renderer, and there is which camera you would like to render. I'm rendering from perspective. Okay, what is IPR? IPR is interactive photorealistic. Interactive in the sense it would show you interactively what is happening there. Like interactively how much is, like interactively how much the value you want to give there. And while you're making the changes, what happens? You can see it interactively. That's really a good option. So look at that. I go with IPR render, and I have a perspective camera. Now, whatever I do in this scene, that will be rendered in real time. You see that? That will be rendered in real time. So I could do the changes there. So that's what IPR render is supposed to. Now, once I do an IPR render, the next thing I have to do is I have to click here. Yeah. Once you click this, is an IPR render. So and I had to click this. Let me just check. Great. It's an IPR render. It takes some time to get updated. Okay, anyway. IPR render the current frame. So let me just click that. Okay. So this IPR render. Now I'll just move the light. I'm sorry, I'll just move the light here from here to here. Okay, maybe I can press the IPR render. So look at that. Let me select this light and move somewhere here. Or if you move the light anywhere, what you get, you will not get anything better there, because everything looks like the same. That is what I mean by an ambient light. Guys, we were using an ambient light. We're using an ambient light. what is an ambient light is this. Ambient light is something, it illuminates everything in the scene. It's just like a sunlight, it illuminates everything in the scene. Look at this one. So this is what ambient light, it illuminates everything in the scene. And I think by accident I created another light, which is an area light. Oh my God, I should delete that. I'm sorry, that's my bad. Yeah, now, say, look at this. No matter wherever you put your ambient light, you get the same output there. I click here again. Okay, you just move it there and click. Yeah, you get the same light. You position this here and click the button, you get the same output. And what if I push in this light here and click the button? I get the same light, because where would you put the light? It just illuminates everything inside the screen. It illuminates everything in the scene. That is what your ambient light is about. And we don't want this ambient light to illuminate everything in the scene. So yeah, let me hit the interactive photorealistic, and I can just select an area. Okay, now I think my IPR render is not working, because it is supposed to do whatever changes I make. It has supposed to update here, but it seems my system is not supporting IPR right now. Unless whatever changes I make, regardless of clicking the button again, it would render and show it to me in the real time. That is what interactive photorealistic is. That's for some reason I'm facing a problem here. Maybe I can close this window. I go through IPR here, interactive photorealistic. Yep, I think this, oh, it says there's an error in my system. It's not unable to do it. Okay, let me just try this. Render. Okay, since my IPR rendering is not working. Anyway, fine. I'll just go with this. Guys, see, either you click this window, or you click this window, or you click this window, you do any window, ensure you are in the software render. Okay, so this is a normal render view. Once you click this, this will open the previous render. Whatever you rendered previously, that window will be just opened. It won't render anything, it just opens the window. That's why it is, let's see the render view. That's it. But if you want to render, you have to click the button, unless it won't render anything. Let's say this, let me click the button again, it will show you the previous render. Now, if you want to render something, click the button here. Okay, or you can directly click the second button, the window opens with the current render. Yeah, it's done. If you want some interactive photorealistic, like whatever changes you make, all the changes has to be reflected in the render window, then that is what this is. It's an interactive photorealistic, but it says my mail script is missing, so I'm not getting that option. Anyway, guys, now look at this one. Now, what it do is, I just have rendered a scene here, and I would like to yeah, and I would like to save this. You can save this also. You can go to your file, you can save the render image, you can do anything. But here there is another option under the file called keep image in render. Great. Now this render is kept here in render view. Now I move this. Now I just move the light here. Then I hit the render button. So I go to file again, keep view, keep image in render view. Now I'll just move the light to the front. Then I can hit the render view. Okay. So then I go to file, keep image in render view. Then I just move the light a little up. Again, I render. Again, go to file, keep image in render view. Now, what is happening here is, if you swipe your render view here, that you could see all your previous renders are stacked or stored here. That you could see all your previous render. There is a few minor differences you could see in this light. Okay, but whatever happens, it just light all the objects. Okay, it lights everywhere. There is no shadow here. Look at that. There are no shadows. It just light every object, and all the objects of the scene are well lit, even though the light is kept behind or kept in between the blocks. It just lights the entire environment. So that is just one way of working with this. So that's what ambient light, ambience is everywhere. Ambience is everywhere. That's what this light does. It just light everything in your environment. That's what ambient light. Okay, great. I'll just put this light inside a layer. So ensure that you select the light, then go here to the right side, your layer window. There you can find uh, the create a new layer and assign selected object. So this is selected object. I want to create a new layer and assign this object to that. So let's click the last button here. If it's not visible, yeah, now it should be visible for you. I just maximize my screen. Now I click this. Now this light is added in this. If you turn this off, visibility, that light is off. This layer will be invisible. Okay, so that's what. Now this, I name this layer by double click and I type it as my ambient. Now this is my ambient light. I can just turn this off and on. So once I turn this off, visibility off, and when I just take the screen and render, see, you can't see that because your light is hidden now. It's inside this. Now I would like to create another light, which is a direction light. Great. Now we have a direction light here. If you want to scale a direction light, you can scale that. You could see a clear picture. Maybe I can change the background, Alt B. Now you can see a clear picture of how this light looks like. Could you see there is a direction it's pointing out? Yes, it's pointing out on the z-axis. So this is a direction light. What does it do? So what does this direction light would do? This just emits light in that direction, in just one direction. So in this case, it emits light in this direction from your z-axis plus to minus. So it emits light from z-axis plus to minus. So that's what's happening here. And if you want to see the output of your lights or output of your scene without going to render view, you could always do that also. Maybe when you press 4 for wireframe, 5 for shaded, 6 for texturing. If you applied in texturing, you could see that. Whereas when you press 7, you could see the lighting. The 7 shows, when you press the 7 key, it shows you the lighting. Look at that. This is how your light will be. Maybe I could just go here and I'll just hit the render button. Now you could see that. It just all the objects which are pointing in this direction. Let me go to file and keep image in render view so you could know the differences. Now go back. Now look at that. The light lights everything, even the ground also lit up and everything. Okay, so which is a point light which emits light in all the directions, from top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, front to back, everywhere. The ambient light, from point light to ambient light. That ambient light emitter light everywhere around the thing. Whereas in this case, now we're using a direction light which emits light only in the Z direction. So it lights only the front portion or the whichever faces which of the objects which are pointing to the Z axis, only those are lit up. You could get that picture from the output here. You see that? Not the other faces of the cube are visible. Yeah, great. This is what direction light does. Maybe I could just this here. I set my direction light here. I can just move this down. Now you could see. Yeah, now it looks like a normal light, like an ambient light. Look at that. Now it points only in the top to bottom. So which means even though your light is positioned only here, even though light is positioned only here in this position, but it doesn't work by the way of its position. It works by the way of the direction. So it says now top to bottom. So whichever objects, for how much long kilometer they are, as long as they are inside the same scene, then all the objects y-axis will be get lit by the direction light. So now all the objects in the scene will be get lit by the y-axis. So the users or the clients, they could see only the y-axis rendered. Now you could see what the top faces of the cube get rendered. Okay, look at that. The top faces of the cubes are rendered. You see? And of course, this plane is also from the top view, you could see better. So you go to visible that. Okay, so maybe I can just select this and delete. Then I hit. Now you could see one of the top faces. You see that? Great. Just for your understanding, I just deleted that plane. I just bring it back. So that's a cool option here. So no matter how many objects you have in the scene, all the objects will be lit up with the help of this one. So that's what it is. You can just move this, or you can do that. Now I just pushing this in this way. Now when I put this, you could see the light is flowing from the back side. Now at the back side, you could see the light is really filled it up, fill the entire place. Whereas on the front side, when you render, you can't get much. Yeah. Because the front side is not getting any light, but from the back, the light is falling towards the front. So you can't get the light. Whereas from back, you can get. So the light is now flowing from top to the bottom. So that will be visible. So there is something, guys. So maybe I can just delete the light. I press 6, so I can get all the everything in my scene proper. I could just yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Now this is a light, and you could see that the light is falling from the back towards the front of the objects. But why there are no shadows? So that is one thing. And of course, you can do that by selecting the light and go to the attributes here. By clicking this, you can be able to access the attributes of any object. So select the light, go to the attributes here, or press Control A. That's a shortcut key to access the attribute editor of any object. For example, if you select this object, and when you press Control A, all the object attributes will be listed here. Similarly, here I select my light, I press Control A, I got all the attributes. Now here I can just do anything. Maybe there you can find your direction light shape, and there you could see a shadows. So click and expand the shadows. There you can find use depth map shadow. The shadow color is black. I just click this. And once I click that, now you could see the shadow falls on the surface. Maybe I could just rotate this a little more. Now the shadow will fall on the other side. You see that? Now the shadow falls on the other side. So it's purely based upon how you want the lights to give you that. So that is one cool thing with this. Maybe I could just do that. Yeah, now look at that. All the object shadow is falling on the other object. So that is one option that you can really get with the help of this. So whenever you light an object, the shadow plays a major role. Without the shadow, if you say that you want to light something good, no, that won't happen. Shadow is the only one that could make this render rendering into a perfect one. Look at that. I would like to file and I go to keep image in render view. Okay, this is your direction light. So the next one is I would like to show you some other differences, such as when you select the direction light, it shows this one, right? So maybe like this one. And what if I change the color of my direction light? From instead of white, I would like to choose a red rectangle light. So what would happen if I do that? You can see that over here. Yeah, it all depends on like whatever color you choose, that color will be in the that color will be emitted when the light emits its intensity. So probably we don't need this color, but why we have this? We have this because what if it's a morning sunlight? If it's a morning sunlight, you get a mild yellow tint there. So I just apply that tint there, and when it says render, I would get it's a morning light. At the early morning light, which is at the 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock light, where you get the yellow tints along the light. So that is one thing. You can go to file, you can just save and keep render image. Then what if it's early morning or late night? Then what that there you have this blue mild tint that we'll be using. Yeah, we could use that. Maybe we could reduce that much more. So to make it better, look at that. Yeah. So that's really cool. I just keep this render image also. So morning, evening, okay, or any kind of modes you want, you could use that. The direction is very good with that. And it's not just one light you can do with direction lighting. You can make a maximum or a mixture of many lights there. Put this. And what if I press Control D? Okay, now we move it here and we're going to duplicate. Let's move it there. Because now there are two lights and two lights have two shadows. You see that? So that really spoiled the mood. Don't ever do that. It really spoil the mood. Because even if you want to do something like that, you should keep only one light shadow to be on the object. The other light shadow should turn off. So maybe the lights that there can be two lights for one object, but when you try to put two shadows or more than that, like in a sports stadium, there you could see each player is surrounded by 10 to 20 lights. Okay, in that case, the shadow won't be look good. The shadow won't be look good at all. So for appealing purposes, I recommend my students not go with two shadows. And if they still prefer to go with, I ask them to reduce the intensity so the amount of shadow that falls on the object would be much lesser than the primary one. So this is what you could do. Just a minute. Like what are the techniques that we discussed today? Those techniques applies to any 3D modeling software. So whether you learn Maya or 3ds Max or Cinema 4D or any 3D software, any software, that the techniques and details that I chat here that applies everywhere. So this is one light. So after that, maybe now I will just keep this image, render view, great. Let me just build another one. They can have my cube here. Great, press R, fine. And I scale this. Just right, like insert edge loop. Just right click, insert edge loop. I press R, hold the shift key. Yeah. Now hold the shift key. Yeah. Now it's here. Now I can select the edges. Right click, go to edge mode. Now select the edge. Now I can just move it up. So now here you got one house there. Maybe I could just render that. Yeah, you see the house. And I can make this much different. Just right click, one here and another click here. Then select this space and this space. Hold the shift key. Yeah, expand it. Now this is another one. And hold the shift again and expand it a little bit. Now you can see. Now you can see the render view there. Okay, go to file again. Keep your image underneath. The colors and shadows would really make good changes with the object. So let's keep that in mind. Now we delete one light. Then I delete two lights. Now the screen would be black with 70 strips. So if you see screen is black, don't worry, don't panic. It is just because you have pressed 7. So press 5 or 6, you will come back. 6 is for texture mode, 5 for shader mode. So I think it's always better you go with 5. Just when you press 5, you can see all the properly in your screen back. Okay. And now I can go to my file, and yeah, we can go and create another object here. Maybe. Okay. Now we discussed about ambient light and we discussed about direct light. Now let's discuss about a point light. So let's create a point light. Point is, the name itself implies its purpose. It's just a point light. So wherever you put that light, only that area and around surrounded by that will be visible. Now look at that. I put the light here, which is of color white, and the intensity is 1. So after this, when it try to render, what happens that we can see it now. So after this, I just press this button. Look at that. You see that? It just renders that point. Of course, you could get light which is dispersed from there, but not much sharper like direction light. So what if I put it there close to that object? Yeah, look at that. That's direction light. But still, you might ask, sir, everything looks same to me. I don't feel that much of difference. Yeah, because the shadows are not turned on. So no matter what light you turned on, just go to the attribute box and go there under shadows, enable the depth map shadow. Then you can just click this button to see how it works. Look at that. Now this is the output of your point light. It just emits light only on one point. It won't just not like a direction light. It emits everything. Wherever you put it, it just keep it there. So go to file and keep image in render view. What if I put the light there and render it? Now you could see that it's just red light there and also an object in between. So this is what it does. Okay. Yeah, you look at that. The house and this wall, then the back of the house. That's it. Wall, back, and the house. So this is what point light does. Point light does the same thing, but the one difference is if you put it above all the objects, it may create a different kind of effect. Like it could give a shadow to all the objects, and it just illuminates everything around the scene. So this also something like a direction light, but it has its own fall off range, because a direction light, it would emit light in one direction from an infinity number to any number. For example, if there are 100 or 1,000 or a million buildings or in the scene, and you want to light all the objects from the y-axis or from the sun angle, you just put one direction light. It emits light throughout the direction for as many million objects are there. It doesn't care, it just emits the light in that direction forever. There is no fall off angle. Whereas when it comes to a point light, it has a fall off range. So it cannot emit lights from several hours. After covering several spaces, the light falls down. The light would lose its energy. So that's the difference here. So this point light. I just save this again, and I delete this point light. The next one we go is a spotlight, which is I would say it's my favorite. Spotlight. You can press R and scale it. This is spotlight. So it would emit light only in a spot. You could see that. You look at that, it emits light only around the cone, whichever objects are there, only they are visible. Now you could see the half of the light goes beyond the grid. So if I render this, what would happen? You could see that. Okay, so the light is spreading everywhere. And what if I go there? I press E, then I press, yeah. See that? This is what spotlight does. It just create a round pattern of light. That's what a spotlight always do. The spotlight really helps you in pointing out a separate character. For example, if you want to showcase which object is the essential one, you can just put a spotlight there, and the people would understand. Okay, the focus they want is on this object, so this is where we have to focus. So this is what a spotlight would do, and I would suggest you to practice that spotlight. And of course, it has a shadow also. You could download the shadow for the spotlight also. So that there you can find the real shadow effect there. This is what a spotlight is about. And hit delete, then before that. So in the further classes, we'll discuss about area light, volume light, and other things. Please do practice, guys. It's more important. Please practice, and thank you.